Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy! Alright folks, here we are on Friday, December 15th. We're going to take a look at Nikola today. So Nikola putting in some interesting motion here. Let me just zoom out for a moment and lay the groundwork. So this long distressed stock, right? It's lost a lot of value. And the most recent downtrend resistance that it's been under, it tried to escape a few days ago, sidestepped its way through, was doing a good job, and then it just got absolutely slaughtered and lost over 23% in a day, put itself right back down underneath the downtrend resistance. It's, it's almost comical in nature. But then what it did with that is it put in a nice scooping pattern, right? Just formed this nice bowl, this nice cup, and then continued to gap up strongly and went through and now has filled this gap, right? This gap that was filled at 97.23 and it stretched through today up to 97.98. So just barely made it, but it made it. And so the question now becomes for me, where does it go from here? Like we say, long distressed, really hard to neutralize a trend. In other words, just stop the downtrend. Even harder to reverse a trend. And I'm speaking specifically for these sort of lower value, under distressed, long distressed stocks. So I'm really curious to see where this goes. It had a plus 11 day, a plus almost 14 day, and now today is peeling off that a little bit, but it was just very interesting to me that it filled the gap, which also broke the downtrend resistance again, this time a much more impressive break than the previous time. So could this be the start of something, is my question at the moment. Now, if it does continue to retrace here on some of these gains, I would really look for it to hold 85.25 if there's going to be any hope to neutralize the downtrend. If not, it runs the risk of doing this thing which I sort of sarcastically call downtrend support, which basically means a stock is outside of the previous downtrend resistance, but it's just walking its way down effectively with the same outcome. But if this 85.25 can hold, then maybe it gives it a little bit of something, because this motion and this filling the gap up doesn't put in the type of formation like we see here, which is played out very obviously like a bear flag, or even like this one. So there's probably even much better examples here. This sort of just staircasing up, which just sort of flags and then breaks back down. But here, this nice round bottom, this nice gap up, quickly filling the gap, has me sort of wondering. So if it does not break through that 85.25 support, the levels to the upside, I'm sticking with these levels still until something sort of says otherwise. But 96, basically 97 cents resistance is right where we saw it hit on the candle body here. If it does break $1, 105, 111-ish, 115, 120. It's a little tricky with these fractions of pennies included in there, but that's why I'm struggling to read. All right, on the think or swim side of things, here's what this looks like. Long trigger as it was pinning itself to the mid-range of the channel. And then when it fired, that's when you got that huge gap down. So that played out very well. That said, barely made a blip on the histogram, right? Bearish momentum picked up quickly, but didn't pick up sort of feverishly, right? Not even as much as back here, which was much less than back here. So this sort of, fevered pitch is feels like the right way to put it, of the bearish momentum previously doesn't seem to immediately catch fire as quickly with this most recent downturn. And so we've been able to see it peel back from that bearish momentum and recede it as it's pushing upward for several days now. So could this make a nice clean sort of return to baseline and then push toward the upper bound of the channel? Maybe. It's testing the mid-range right now, and so if it can hold that mid-range as support, that gives it a chance. You do see the red wave cloud here, right? Still sort of bearing out that bearish trend, which is not a shock. But if we see that start to flip like we saw here, right, it had an opportunity there and then it just couldn't hold the mid-range. So it's constantly this battle with the mid-range. That's why it was extra interesting when we saw it triggering when it was pinned to the mid-range, because then, we wait for the fire to be the big move, and boy, was it a big move. So interesting to see if it can even, like I say, pin itself to the mid-range here or get some motion up toward the upper bound of the channel. It hasn't done that in a long time. Not really since back here, right? It couldn't bump its head on the upper bound of the channel. It just didn't have the bullish strength to do that. So any of these things would be sort of like counter to previous motions that it's put in the recent past, at least, that have caused it to just continue to, periodically bump up, but then mostly slam back down, staircase up, elevators down. So we'll see what happens, but it caught my attention today, so I figured I'd come in and see what things were looking like. All right, folks, I hope that you have had a good week and that you enjoy your weekend, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.